The Competitive Contractor podcast is brought to you by Shivendra & Co. Visit shivendra.com to find out how you can work with us to grow your construction business, be more profitable, and be a competitive contractor.
Hi everyone, it's Shivendra Kumar welcoming you to the Competitive Contractor podcast, a podcast for owners and leaders of construction companies globally. So I ever wondered how we as leaders of the construction industry can leave a legacy and contribute to the vision of making the construction industry more advanced, more productive, and more safe? Well, one thing is for certain, it can be done, and it is becoming increasingly easy to do that. How, you may wonder? Well, what if I said that an opportunity provided to a young high school student many years ago today has led to an Australian startup that could change how projects are planned? And that is just the start of the story. Without giving much more away, I'm delighted to have Patrick Munsey from Aivia Group with me today. Patrick is a partner at Aivia Group, a professional services consultancy firm that provides the capture, processing, and analysis of geospatial data, primarily derived from drones. They specialize in photogrammetry and reality modeling for aerial mapping and asset inspection application across a wide range of industries. Hi Patrick, it's great having you on this podcast, and I'm glad we finally got around to doing this recording.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are keen to know more about you and your career. So to start this podcast, as is the tradition for this podcast, do you mind sharing your story with us?
Sure. Well, I've always had a passion for aircraft and aviation in general, and that started quite young. And I was actually fortunate enough in high school to be accepted to go on to a camp, week-long camp to RAF Base Amberley as part of the Aerospace Challenge, as part of one of the cadet groups that I was part of. And on that camp, we actually did a week-long set of workshops. We walked around the base and introduced to a bunch of different businesses all around drone technology. And that really sparked quite a strong interest in me early on. I then went to university and did a degree in mechatronics, which is a bit of a mix between computer science, electronics, and mechanical engineering. And I did another degree in computer science, majoring in AI as well. Throughout university, I also did some work at an aerospace startup in Sydney, working on prototyping and the development of custom drone platforms. So that really strengthened my interest in actually getting hands-on experience with that type of technology quite early on as well. And to finish off, after leaving there and to finish off university, I actually did my undergraduate thesis in a feasibility analysis on the last mile delivery of packages, like a drone delivery network in urban areas. Finishing off that sort of university stage of my life, I was talking with a lot of my mentors and my colleagues and like my peers. And I started to really find the value in the more geospatial data side of the technology instead of, just focusing on the hardware and the physical side of things. And that really sparked my interest for, the data side of the technology as well.
Yeah, I love how you use the word spark, and I think the start of your journey is pretty interesting. Whatever happened at the defense camp, I hear of a lot of investment being done by the different corporate organizations, and the government on STEM programs and women in engineering, women in construction, and with apprentices. And I think this is a really good story to say, hey, they took a high school kid at that time to a Air Force base, shown drones. Who would have thought that this guy is going to grow up and in a few years' time after university degree is going to be changing how we use drones in the construction industry, right? So total different industry, but applying that technology. So I think sometimes as industry leaders, we underestimate our contribution to helping the next generation grow. I see that you are a product of it. So that's enough about Patrick. I want to see and understand about Aivia. So how did that then come by, and what's the flight been like?
Yeah. Well, coming out of university and having a few more years of experience after that, I was pretty well set on, had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to be doing as a career. Except I had some trouble finding a company in Sydney that did exactly what I wanted to do. And later on in life, I did know that I wanted to start my own business. That had always been an interest of mine as well as my partner. So we just decided to take the jump and start Aivia Group together with our family. That was 2 years ago at the start of COVID, which was definitely an interesting time. So we, to put it simply, what we do, we're a professional services and consulting firm that offers the capture, processing and analysis of geospatial data, primarily derived from drones. And we specialize in photogrammetry and reality modeling in applications such as aerial mapping and asset inspection for a number of industries. We originally started just doing aerial photography, but we soon realized that the more complex deliverables around geospatial data and the aerial mapping and reality modeling side of things was definitely where the most value was for not just us, but our clients as well. So we started really focusing on developing our capabilities in that area and the software and automation tools that accompany those types of workflows. And we've started focusing a lot of our development around architectural and construction workflows, making that data available and usable for those type of our clients.
Yeah. As a young person taking the plunge, and I mean, you make it sound so easy, and then you mentioned the whole COVID experience. If there was one or two words that you could use to describe your experience of running a tech startup, going and doing something that probably not many people do, just having like fresh into the world of the workforce or / business, what would those one or two words be?
I think curiosity definitely is a massive driving factor. Like just wanting to know what's achievable, what's learning new things. Like there's a lot of things that have already been established and existing methodologies, but being able to take all of them and sort of join them together and experiencing them has definitely been a strong motivational factor. And you know, starting your own business also comes with its own diversities around what you have to do, what you have to learn as well. So curiosity would be one, and then perseverance. It definitely is a marathon to do, to try and do all of this, especially over the last couple of years. But you know, those small wins of like being able to go full time, getting your first employee, are definitely, those small wins give you that enough energy to go to the next step forward. And having a little look back, even though there's a long road ahead, getting to look back and realizing that there's a long road behind you as well is definitely puts things into perspective to push you forward through the next challenge that you come to.
It's interesting how you mentioned the word curiosity. I think perseverance gets mentioned a lot, and I think that's something that every person who runs a business or starts a business or works in a small business talks about. But curiosity, I don't think so anyone's mentioned this on the podcast so far, and it's interesting. If I think more about it, I think it's what keeps the world progressing. And I think behind every inventor or every person who's done something unique would be a curious mind. So And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So what do you do for your clients, right? What the business that you have is very unique. There's not too many of you around, so it's not something that we would easily find just everywhere. So if I were to see a vehicle with your company's logo on it, or if I were to come across your name and decided to find out what you do, what does your day look like, what is it? What is it that you do?
Well, I'll give an example of some of our work that we've done with one of our architectural clients. So what we do is we consult with them on different locations that they're looking at developing. So they do both the planning, the urban planning, and the architectural design of a site, and then the project management and fulfillment of the construction phase as well. So we'll go to the different locations that they're planning on developing, and we'll capture a bunch of data using our drones, other technologies like GPS, handheld cameras, terrestrial laser scanners, and we'll bring all this data together and create a true-to-life digital model of the location that is dimensionally scaled and positioned in the real world, that will allow them to completely design and plan a site's development remotely from their office in Melbourne. And this really helps them with their projects, because a lot of them are regional sites throughout all of Australia. So that's the final end product of what they're trying to achieve with the data that we have. But that entire process is a little bit more involved than may initially meet the eye. It involves not only just the planning of the flights and the capture of data, but going on site, capturing the data itself, verifying and measuring that against other baselines, taking all that data into the office, which often can be over a terabyte just for every single location, terabyte of data that you're starting to have to deal with, processing that, pulling everything together, and then distributing that back to a client in an easy to use format, and then pulling some insights and analysis from the data that we've captured as well. So we really help them from every step of the process to get to that final end goal, and it can be quite challenging, especially for small and medium businesses, to get to that point, because there is such a wide range of knowledge and skills required, and unless you have dedicated resources specifically to that type of workflow, it can be time and resource prohibitive for these smaller businesses to access that type of technology. So that's how we help just one of our clients today.
Yeah. So if I take it into, let's say, in my language, right, and how I would understand this, what you've done is you went out, you've got all these instruments and the technology that you have, the photography stuff, equipment that you have, the gear that you have, and then you create these true-to-life models, which then exist in the cloud somewhere for your clients to access. And what that gives them the opportunity is they can work on different parts or different projects using that data without having to visit the site. So these could be teams who are sitting in the same state or the same location, but they could also be offshore. They could be in a totally different office. And it probably, if I look at it from the client's point of view, it probably ends them maybe saving multiple trips to the site and trying to verify dimensions and confirm things if a model is correctly developed. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's a perfect alternative summary of what we do for that client. Yeah, obviously there's a whole range more of very specific scenarios that you can also use the data for, but the biggest one is really around the remote visualization and interrogation of physical site, and in the age of remote work and people wanting digital records of everything, that's really where the true value lies for most businesses. Yeah.
And I think in the whole skills shortage thing, that might help a lot as well, because you're able to now utilize some of your key resources who might be sitting in an office or maybe in a different location, but they could also be offshore. They could be in a totally different office. And it probably, if I look at it from the client's point of view, it probably ends them maybe saving multiple trips to the site if a model is correctly developed. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's a perfect
you're able to deploy and not have these guys spend time traveling, lose time traveling, right? Because it has now made available. That's fantastic on how you've done it. And I've been talking to you for, I think, a couple of months or maybe just over a year, and sort of know the journey and a lot of the things I know you've developed yourself, and the team, you've got a small team that's been building it. So it's really inspirational in terms of knowing where you've come from. Talking about innovation, right? Because I think that's the banner I can put this episode under. It's a scary word for the organization, particularly those in the construction industry. And add that to the start of the projects. I think if we were to implement what you're doing at the start of the project, a lot of people will see, no, let's get the ball rolling. We don't want to try anything new right now. We can see about it later on. So it's always, let's get settled and then we'll try innovation. Where you've come in, you've gone right at the start of the project, right? And you're trying to work in that space and make things easier for people right at the start, which I think is brilliant. So from as a developer of a technology that could change how projects get looked at and how projects get worked on, what advice do you have for clients, government and industry leaders who are hesitant to be early adopters and reluctant to give newer startups the opportunities they deserve?
I think even just having that first casual conversation is a great first step. I think you'll find most technology startup founders and people who work in these sort of companies are more than happy to have just a conversation and have a chat about what they do or throw different ideas out there without any obligations at all. So I don't think you need to go into that thinking that it's going to be a large commitment. Just test the waters, have a couple of conversations, and then if something does spark an interest, giving the power for someone internally in your own organization to take ownership of that sort of initiative, give them maybe a couple of hours here and there to explore themselves, because they know best about your own organization, what you guys need, what the larger vision of the project is. And having that strong point of contact can, as well as that initial first casual conversation, can be a real good recipe for success of trying out new things. Obviously, a pilot project with minimal obligations afterwards is also a good icebreaker, and a lot of startups are more than happy to do test projects or pilot projects just to sort of get their foot in the door and show off what they can actually do, because they're all excited just to get to start showing people what they've developed, and that they'll put in the effort to make sure that things do go the best they can, and that you're happy. And I think those things, just being open to have that discussion really is a great start.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is there's no harm in having a casual conversation. You might pick up a little bit more other than learning about the technology, because innovators like yourselves might provide some additional insights that you might not have thought of. What you've also said is that give an opportunity for pilot projects. Who knows, this might be the next thing that changes the world, and you've got a chance to play a part in it, right? So don't shy away from giving that opportunity, because if someone's thought about it, someone's put their minds and probably a significant portion of their life in it, there must be something good about it. And really, with innovation, what I find is it's these small opportunities that give and they become enablers, right? So I think looking at the technology and where you come in a project life cycle, I think that data, the insights that you generate is an enabler for so many things that can happen downstream and simplify a lot of other activities, everything from safety to how work gets delivered, how work gets managed and monitored. There's a significant opportunity. So I think every other innovation like that, they are enablers. So you get the chance to contribute to that. Talking about the construction industry, do you want to say something?
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say a lot of these tech startups that you'll come across also move incredibly fast as well. So, compared to construction projects that can take years and, over a decade sometimes, the risk of them being that point that slows a project in the grand scheme of things. Having that small conversation or reach out or even dealing with them, they can often move just as fast as you want. So, to stem the worries about it being a distraction or slowing things down may not be the case a lot of the time as well.
Yeah. So the risk of going with an innovative software is probably lower than the risk of not going with it, right? Yeah. So talking about the construction industry, if you were made in charge of changing, let's say the powers were given to you to go and change the construction industry, what 3 things would you focus on? What 3 things would you change in the construction industry?
I think being open to new technologies with longer term benefits. So sometimes, even though you can move incredibly fast, it may take a while for the value to be seen, especially if we're talking about project trend analysis. Sometimes it takes a significant amount of time to gather enough data to be able to start to analyze it properly. So starting early, like we said, can be a benefit, and it can actually speed things up in the long term. So yeah, having that longer term vision and not being afraid to initiate something now that may take a while to pay off and have longer term benefits would be one thing. Another one would be it'd be nice to have a healthy change around accountability and liability. So instead of paying for lawyers, maybe investing and focusing more on technology that offers the ability to hold everyone accountable and uncover issues before they get out of control. So better records of project progress and project state as well. Just making the whole project transparent to everyone involved and all stakeholders would be a nice change and improvement. And I think the final thing would be encouraging more technical skill development and training for the Australian workforce. And that doesn't just mean like sending someone to a short course here and there. I think really giving the time and the freedom to your workers or workers in this industry to take their own initiative to learn something new. It would definitely would be great to see, and letting people explore a bit more specialized skills around, especially in the future, around geospatial data and technology, and just giving the empowerment of individual workers to find their own improvements. They may come up with an automation, or instead of just having the focus being this set of to-do lists or tasks that needs to get done straight away, would be great to see as well further develop. That's
fantastic. I love all the ones. The second one is of very much interest. So just recapping for the audience, what you're saying is for the industry to embrace new technology, and particularly those technologies that have a long road, giving them that opportunity earlier on to go and build the data up. So planting that seed and nurturing it earlier on, so that it can reap the fruits of success much earlier than it would otherwise, or before your competitor or another country starts to embrace it. I think the second point is brilliant. It's to invest in solutions before the problem, not in solutions after the problem, right? So don't go and spend money on lawyers or on solutions that got fixed problems after they've occurred. You could invest maybe even it's not the same amount of money, it's even less, because you've already incurred a loss and then you're paying for all these legal fees after it. You might prevent the loss and save some money by investing in technology and other innovative approaches earlier on in the projects. I love that point, and I think technology plays a big part there. And you mentioned safety as well. So I think if it can save someone's life, save someone from getting injured, that's brilliant, right? Nothing compares to that. And I think the learning and development, they said that the organizations will grow as fast as you produce leaders. So, and that comes with knowledge. If you can equip them with technology, I go back to the story about you going to REF makes so much of a difference. And I know there's many more people in Australia, in our society, in our industry like you. But the question is how many opportunities are we providing today? So as leaders of the industry, who have we enabled today? Who have we enabled this month, this week, to take the path that you have taken, or the path that has been given to us? So I think it's really interesting on what you say. And just recently, I mean, I was having a conversation with someone from another sector, and they're talking about the number of engineers. So engineers that are working for banks, analyzing data. So the question from my side was why did they end up in the banks? I mean, they're analyzing data. So does construction not have enough data? So I think it's how the other industries have enabled, or how they have structured themselves, that they've absorbed a key section of our workforce, the intelligent workforce, and applied them in an area that's not really engineering, that's not really construction. Whereas we have the opportunity to do that. And I think if I look at some of the stuff you're doing, I think it starts treading into the path where these engineers that might be working for banks will probably be more fascinated by what you do, and it might be a way to pull them back. But definitely we need to invest more in our people and really empower them, enable them to create those opportunities. So I'll stop talking about it, but those 3 points, thanks very much for sharing those. So before we end this podcast, like, what does the next few years look? So 2023, 2024, 2025, what does it look like for you?
Well, we're currently focusing very heavily on our software development capabilities. We're looking at, and we're halfway through the early stages of developing our own geospatial client portal for the visualization and distribution of all our geospatial data and deliverables through a web app. Mm-hmm. There are ones that already exist out there, but having our own capability will really empower us to do things that just aren't possible with what's already on the market at a scale as well that will be able to grow with us as we try and scale the rest of our operations as well. Things like the automation and the other tools that we've already developed, being able to integrate those will be extremely powerful, not just for us, but also in the quality and the variety of deliverables that we can provide our clients. So working heavily on developing the software capabilities is definitely one of the main focuses in the next coming years.
Brilliant. So I don't see you resting. It's not like you've come to a point where you can take a break. You're continuing on and building value for the client and making life easier for them. Mm. So before we finish this podcast, where can people get more information about you? How can they find you online? And just a little bit more about getting in contact with you.
To get some more information about Aivia Group, our website's the best point. So aiviagroup.com. If you want to have a chat with me, just reach out on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to have a virtual chat or do a demo of a few of our past projects or what we're working on. There'll be no obligations, of course, and I'd also love to hear about what everyone else is doing out there as well. It's always good to just have a chat and figure out what's going on around the place.
Okay, brilliant. I'll include the links, your LinkedIn and social media website on the show notes. And the final message for the audience. I know you're a man of few words, but it'll be really good if you could share something to end this podcast.
It'd be really good. I'd really encourage everyone to do some research and maybe investigate the realm of aerial mapping and reality modeling. I'm seeing a lot more people starting to be engaged and be interested in the reality meshes and reality modeling side of things because they're quite visually interesting. And it's a wonderful rabbit hole to go down, just learning all the different details, even as a hobby. It's just a really interesting area to sink some time into learning about. So I'd really encourage that. And again, just don't be afraid of reaching out to your local startups or just other people that may be doing things in that area. You may find and learn a few things here and there as well that may be very interesting. And finally, thanks for having me on. My interactions with you over the last year or two have been great. Tools to help us, through the tendering and a lot of our other projects, reaching out to government agencies as well. So working with you in the Business Connect resources has been awesome. And it's really given us the confidence to reach out to some of the larger projects and to start to leverage, some of the more specialized skills that we've developed with our other commercial projects.
Yeah, brilliant, Patrick. And yeah, it's been inspirational working and seeing your journey and seeing how you've come through and work on those projects. And yeah, employee number one, I remember that conversation as well. So well done on that. Appreciate having you on this podcast and the support you've provided to the industry through the innovation you're bringing in. And your insights in this podcast will help many construction business owners and leaders grow their business and become a competitive contractor. Wishing you all the best, and I'll definitely be in touch, and hopefully we can do another episode with you with some of the goals that you've mentioned completed. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Bye.